commenters on this channel recommend that I get some kind of a delay with the tap tempo, and I've had a few of you guys specifically recommend the DD-20. I did finally take the plunge and get one of these, and everyone that told me to was completely correct. Having a tap tempo on a delay pedal, if you perform live a lot, is completely a game changer for usability and how easily you can change things on the fly. I have to say, the sounds on this are great. I do like the flashback by TC Electronic at least as much, and maybe a little more, but the playability of this one and the way you can change settings on the fly means that it has displaced both my other delay pedals on my board. So I've had a few requests to make a video on this DD-20, and I'm going to run through some of the stuff on it. Get my headphones here so I can hear my direct guitar. So here are some of the modes on this, and I'm going to go in descending order of usefulness according to me. This is the tape mode, which according to the manual is modeled after the Roland Space Echo, which is like an iconic delay outboard piece of gear. And it's got that analog kind of tape sound. Especially when you play something higher, you can hear the kind of the warble of the tape modeling on this. And it sounds really beautiful for kind of spacey stuff. I like this one with the effect level and the feedback level pretty high, so that it gets really ambient. I wouldn't play like a really rhythmic song with it turned up this high, but. And then the other setting on here that I use the most often is the one right above this, analog. And it's a little similar to the tape setting, but for this one in particular, I like setting the feedback shorter because these repeats delay in kind of a nice muddy fashion, which like stays out of your way when you are playing something a little more rhythmic. So if you set it to short repeats, where it just does a couple, then that's really good for more rhythmic kind of groovy things. And they decay quickly and stay out of your way if you keep the feedback low. Then the standard one up top here sounds the most like my DD-3 that this displaced. Just a crisp, like, digital delay that sounds exactly like the note that you played. And what I like this standard one for the most is doing dotted eighth delays. The setting after that is dual, which actually does 2 delay repeats at like different times. So it's doing like 2 of them off beat from each other. And you can tweak the intervals on those. But what I use this dual for is tremolo picking or something where I want a lot of little notes to fill in around me. Because it really helps with that rapid kind of tremolo thing. It's even better with like a reverb on. And then the smooth setting is supposed to sound a little like a reverb. It is, I mean, it's still delaying, but it it's supposed to kind of bloom in a ambient fashion. And then there's one on here called Modulate, which is, it introduces kind of a chorusy effect to the echoes. And that one's fantastic for really ambient stuff. So I'm going to turn it way up. It really adds a lot of kind of a shimmer to the tails of the delay. I'll get into a few of these settings that I don't really use that much, but that are also interesting. The last one on the wheel is called reverse. I mean, obviously your note is still normal because it can't reverse your playing, but then every subsequent repeat of it is kind of backwards, and it fades in up to the peak instead of starting high and fading out. So this is the reverse setting on like a really slow BPM. Which has a cool sound. It makes each of the echoes kind of fade in like some kind of a studio trick. And then if you speed it up, it sounds very electronic, which is kind of nice actually. There's one on here called Twist, which is actually just a regular sounding delay. Unless you step on this left pedal, and then it goes freaking crazy. And then it oscillates upwards as long as you're holding it down, and then when you let go it kind of peaks and falls off. I can't conceive of a use for that except to have like end a song in a really crazy way, but other folks might have more use for it. And then this setting called Warp, again, is a pretty normal delay while you're not touching anything. But if you hold down on this, it kind of freezes the last thing that you played, so. And then you can add to it. Which is probably useful for some kind of weird electronic type sounds, but I haven't found a great deal of use for it in a live setting yet. So one of the things I love about this DD-20 is I have it assigned where this is the on-off, this is the tap tempo, and then I have this external pedal. And Boss makes one, but it's much bigger than this. I bought this little one by Throne Room that's called the Tiny Tap, and it's incredibly small. And I have that one assigned to change the presets. I actually, in essence, have 3 pedals that I can control on this thing. The Tiny Tap, having it assigned to be a mode switcher, lets me actually change like delay types mid-song. So for example, I have a preset in here that's dotted eighth delay. And then if you have a delay that's more normal, you can switch to dotted eighth for just parts of the song. So you could be going along like regular. And then with this external pedal, I can switch to dotted eighth and go. And then kick it off whenever I want. So that's convenient if you just want dotted eighth for like part of a song. Another thing that this tap tempo is really good for is if your drummer speeds up or slows down mid-song, which I mean even the best drummers can usually do if you're not playing to a click or something. And so you can do this on the fly and it doesn't mess anything up. So if you're just playing along and then you realize it needs to be a few BPM faster, you can just... And then it's like perfectly synchronized again, and you can adjust that on the fly anytime during the song, which is awesome to be able to do. And then of course between songs to be able to totally change the speed. So some of the specific nuts and bolts on this thing, you change the tempo subdivisions with this tempo button. So that's how you change from quarter notes to, dotted eighth note. You can do everything from whole to like triplets. Unless I'm doing that dotted eighth thing specifically, I pretty much always have it on quarter notes. But that's there. And then to save a preset, you dial it in however you want it to, and then select over to one of the preset slots and hit right. So the presets I have right now are, number 1 is like a big ambient delay. Which I made using the modulate setting and then very high effect and feedback levels. The second preset is my dotted eighth. And then 3, I have that dual thing dialed in for tremolo picking. I don't really have anything on the 4th one at the moment, but there's 4 preset slots. And then if you ever want to change one of them, you preset over to it, and then you have to turn the knob past where it was on the preset before anything changes. So like once you're past the point you left it at, then you can dial different stuff in. And if you've changed anything on the preset, this memory thing flashes until you save it or don't save it. I mentioned earlier that I use this external pedal to control the switching between the different presets. And if you get really deep into the menus, you can actually even control how that works. So on this one, I'm switching from manual to a specific preset and back. So this is like whatever the knobs are set at, switching to preset 2, switching back to the knobs. You can also change it so that it switches through them in sequence, like 1, 2, 3, 4, manual, 1, 2, 3, 4. I have it like this so that I can switch to and from like one specific mode. I would never be like scrolling through all of them during a single song. But you set that by turning the unit off and then holding down select while you're turning it back on. And then similarly, if you have an external pedal like this and you want to determine whether it controls presets or controls like the tap tempo, you turn the unit off and hold down this whole pedal while turning it back on, and then it will let you select what this does. So for me, I have this as the mode switcher because it's easier for my foot to tap in a tempo on this big one than on this little one, but that's totally a matter of personal preference. So again, this is a pretty versatile delay pedal, and it's even got 2 or 3 modes I haven't even really gotten into yet. But for really even just the tape, analog, and standard modes alone make this pretty worthy of gigging with. And then the ability to change your tempo on the fly, change your mode on the fly. It's a pretty usable, pretty giggable pedal. So I would definitely recommend it.